he talks about why um, voyeurism and incest porn and all that kind of porn has become so popular, and it's because it's so taboo that our brains, like when something is taboo, our brains like sometimes flip it because it's so bad that like you have to experience it.
Well,
So
I
then it
mean, that's
becomes this
getting
like,
at that. That's getting at that next levelness of sexual, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it's you fetishize what's taboo.
you
So, oh, being caught in a park, oh, it's so taboo, but God, wouldn't it be so fun to maybe almost get caught,
yeah.
And
Getting it
it's
caught in the park with your sister.
oh no, and it's like it's not that these people want to fuck their sister. That's never a thing. Like people will call in and they're like, "My boyfriend's into incest porn. Does that mean he wants to fuck his sister?" And he's like, "No." It's not what it means. It just is so taboo that your brain fetishizes it.
The big hormone enneagram.
Let me lay it on the line. I got a little freakiness inside. Let you know that the man has got to deal with it.
Hi, it's John here. I'm a sexual self-pres for the 4, 5, 8 tri-type.
Hi, David here. I'm a self-pres sexual 9 with a 1, 9, 7, 4 tri-type.
Hey, it's Emeka. I'm an 8 wing 7 sexual type with the 854 type.
Hey, it's Nancy. I'm a self-pres social 3, wing 4, and 3, 6, 9 tri-type.
I think what throws me off about because everyone has, even sexual blinds have the sexual drive as well. It's only in certain contexts, and so, for example, in a bar, the way that someone tries to pick up someone that they're interested in that environment, it's very much in a way that a sexual type would. It's like I'm directing very single-minded focus on this one person. I'm interested. I want to know about you. Um, where do you stay? Like, what are you into? Like, we're vibing. And so when that happens, it's like as a sexual type, I'm interpreting that as this is what I do when I'm interested in someone. And when you want to fuck someone, this is the energy that everyone brings to the table. But for a sexual type, this is the energy they bring to the table all the time. And so we end up having sex and you're thinking this is going to continue. but that was just for that context of I want to have sex with someone tonight and it's going to be just compartmentalized to this part of my life, but it's not necessarily meaning like sexual blinds aren't integrating that pursuit into I don't know, the rest of their life. Whereas for me, if I'm penetrated in that way, that I might not remember anything else about her, but I'm going to remember that we had this thing and I want to go back to it. And so I'm just now, like, the past couple of years, I guess, realizing that that's what's going on. That's the confusion. It's they were interested in me, but it wasn't in a way that was integrated to the rest of their life. It was just this thing that happened this one night, and that's all.
That's really interesting. Because once I get, as a self-pres social, once I get into a relationship, what I find the most meaningful, and like me and my boyfriend talk about it all the time. We're like, I'm so glad we're not dating anymore because it's so stressful because you do have to turn on that sexual instinct and it's fucking exhausting. Like me going on a date when I was single, like I would come home and I was like, "Oh my god, please no one talk to me for hours, like days. Don't talk to me for days." Because it's exhausting. And so if I dated a sexual type and that's the energy they brought to the table all the time, I wouldn't be able to sustain it.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, it's not like sexual types are constantly high energy all the time because I am
Right.
a very piece of shit, lazy, withdrawn 4 of the 5. But if I'm either like super intensely involved in painting and writing or something, but it's like a withdrawn zone,
Mhm.
or I'm or I'm like engaged in some way. Like there's not like the off switch is not really off; it's just switched. And
Right.
so,
But
y-
that's what I find exhausting is like it's not that you guys are constantly doing or talking or connecting. It's just that it's just intense.
right, like Ilaria and I share a small room in our apartment, and but like for hours I might be like in my own world and she's in her own world, and then I reenact Matthew McConaughey's introduction in Magic Mike, um, really aggressively in her face.
That would stress me the fuck out.
Can't touch rules. Can you touch this? Nah, 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 nah,
All
nah,
right,
nah,
you
nah,
weren't
nah.
joking.
No, I do it. I've never seen the movie except for that scene, which I've
Oh
seen
my god.
a lot.
Well, it is Matthew McConaughey.
I don't think I've ever been in a relationship with a sexual blind person, but besides Ilaria, my longest relationship with a self-pres sexual, and she was triple withdrawn, 4, 5, 9 tri-type, and um, I think I drove her insane, but I think she also kind of liked that I was always trying to hunt for her. Like she did the passive, like no, I gotta be with my plants or whatever, and I would come in and like take my clothes off and just dance around and try to get her attention and bother her and all this kind of stuff. And I think she liked it till she didn't.
Yeah.
Till
Well,
she
yeah.
Like, we've been together a couple years now. Is this gonna calm down? Hey.
Does this go away? Well, yeah, it's not so much like that's every when I'm saying that, it's very much like this is my experience. Like I would find it exhausting, but I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
coming from a point of view where I have like high anxiety. So
Mm.
like the hot and cold or the intensity, like I can't deal with the up and down because that triggers it.
Mm.
So my experience
To-
might be a little
Totally.
different.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just want it to be known though that I left a sufficient enough mark on Emeka that now he looks for sexual types. So my ego mission accomplished.
I didn't
Doesn't
know
get
your
much better
ego
than
could
that.
get bigger, but
Yeah, it's growing all the time.
yeah,
It's the
gonna
sunlight.
take over the world.
A year and a half of dating only sexual types. At least I think 2 years of dating only. That relaxed a little bit. Now I'm kind of like it's just you just have to have some sexual, but it was an interesting, intense couple years where I just like I got to see what this is like, man. I gotta. It's intense. I can see the drawbacks. I guess I could talk a little bit about like what sucks about dating other sexual types.
Yeah, talk about that.
Mhm.
Um,
I want to hear.
yeah, I think when I dated the sexual one, it was like an orgasmic experience. I was like the first month of that was some of the best time of my life. Like this is the first time I'd been with someone who like we would hook up and like sometimes you hook up with someone and then you just lay there and maybe have a talk and then you hook up again. We did that for hours and hours and hours. She did not want to stop talking. Like we were just like getting into each other and it just felt like an endless loop. And that was the first time that I'd been with someone who was like that just had endless appetite for that energy. And so I guess the drawback to that it was like a drug. It was like getting high, and I didn't know that I could experience that in a relationship. I mean, you have most relationships like, oh, great sex, we have a lot in common, but just having like someone that can meet you on a chemistry level and really like want to take it to the next level, and you want to take it to the next level, and you're both taking it to the next level. It's like, oh my gosh. So, but I guess what I realized is that with the chemistry aspect of it, that it really helps because sexual types are I identified with what they think will be interesting to themselves and to a potential partner, and you really hold those things dear and you identify with them. So for me, it's the Enneagram, and and so she took a dive into the Enneagram with me, and for her it was like fashion and music, and she really cared about music, but I couldn't go there with her because I didn't give a shit about any of that stuff, and so I recognized that with my experience with other sexual types that there had to be some kind of shared, I don't know, like hook for both of you, like something that could tie things together for both parties. And so chemistry became like a tight uh, a tightrope that if the chemistry wasn't right, it could fall apart very quickly. But so I saw that like the positives of positives, like you're with this person who can, it's a bottomless pit of energy that you can just fall into each other, but if it doesn't fit just right, it can flame out very quickly. And the other part of it that I recognize is that both of y'all are insecure about how into each other you're insecure about the other person being attracted to you. So any sort of suggestion or any sort of the provocations that each of you guys are doing to test each other's uh, interest and attraction to each other is really going to be sensitive, and
Oh
things
yeah.
yeah, like I recognize that if either of us is feeling insecure about the other person's interest, that things could get really ugly really quickly, and they did.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it just presents a whole nother set of challenges and a whole bunch of benefits. And I just felt like this is just a lot of intensity in one instinct for one relationship. It's better, it might be better. I'm not saying that it's gonna be what ends up being working for me, but it might be better if it's second, where it's not like this do or die thing, because it just has to line up so perfectly when two people are sexual types. Like you have to have the chemistry, and then you have to have some kind of understanding of each other and maturity to not like fuck with each other too much about your insecurities because you both have them. It's just so I backed off a little bit on that because for like 2 years I was like only sexual types, and now I'm like it's not the cure all there that I thought it was.
The insecurity and like things sort of living and dying on attraction is funny. Like a week ago, it's sort of what we talked about earlier. We were joking about earlier about how I know somebody likes me, and I don't even just mean likes like is into me, just like they like me. Often has to do with something about attraction. So like I have a friend, she was like seriously encouraging me to think about stripping at a gay club, and I was like, wow,
Seriously?
that's really nice.
Yeah.
But I felt like, oh, like I took it like just as a very sweet compliment, like that, like you complimented
get
me in
that.
other ways,
Yeah.
which didn't matter to me. And then I was like, oh, that's really nice of you.
That's a little weird, man.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, David, what do you have to say on this?
Dating sexual types?
Dating sexual types. I'm the king of inappropriate relationships. So I was going to
Yes.
tell another
I
one of
wanna-
those.
I want to hear about it.
Well,
Can I be one of them?
It's already happening.
This has
It already
been a
happened.
slow seduction. Yeah. When I was 13, I was in a really intense relationship with a sexual self-pres one with a two-wing woman, super intense, and she was 40 years old when I was 13. She was my teacher, and
Whoa, I haven't heard this.
yes, and
Awesome.
yes, I actually, I have I think you guys have seen me post about this before. I've got a weird history with women that starts literally at birth with a nanny that, kind of wanted to own me. She was probably a 2 based on the stuff my mom used to say about her. And she actually started to, want to have me spend the night at her house and stuff. I mean, this is from when I was born till I was like 2.5. And anyway, so
Jesus.
there's this pattern.
Right?
There's this pattern that started literally at birth with me of a second mother and women wanting to mother me. And I've got and there are certain peaks throughout my childhood of there's like 4 different women that really, really wanted to be my mother, and it was extremely Oedipal and sexual and a seduction on my part too. You know, part of my deal is didn't meet my father, don't even know my father, so I kind of I mean, maybe this is a simplistic way to say it, but I kind of doubled up on women, right, to make up for that. And
Gotcha.
so, anyway, so one of the highlights here of that is at 13, one of my teachers in 8th grade, somehow she invited, I guess she just called me, invited me and my friend to go do something with her and her 18-year-old daughter. And the 4 of us got to be uh, really intimate friends. And looking back on it, this sexual one was like clearly actually wanting to do something sexual with me,
Wow.
like really overtly. I mean, it was constant sexual humor and stuff like that. And I'm 13, and and a super passive 9. But I was loving the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And because I mean, halfway being conscious of seducing older women when I was a child.
Hmm.
And again, it's that kind of doubling up on women thing. So, but yeah, she was. I mean, I was totally a target. You know, uh, and she me and my friend ended up spending the night there, and it got more and more and more intense, talking about sexual going to the next level. It actually culminated with, by the end of that summer, because this started during the summer, um, at the beginning of the summer, and by the end of the summer it actually had gotten to the point where this woman wanted to legally adopt me.
What?
Yes, yes,
So
absolutely, and
she could what?
deadly serious.
So she could do what?
Okay.
So she could have
So
me in
hot.
every way possible. She was
So
gorgeous. I mean, she was
Oh,
the kind of woman that had been asked to pose for Playboy and
Oh
stuff.
wow.
And yeah, I mean, she was, and just huge, huge, intense as fuck eyes. I mean, just like pierce. You talk about stabbing someone. This woman's eyes were like deadly. I mean, she was like a witch. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
gorgeous. Uh, and yeah, and there was just constant sexual innuendo, and we were sleeping in the same bed together, and she was putting me in the same bed with her daughter, and
What?
you know what I mean? Yeah, uh
Stop
and she
bragging.
yeah, no, I'll keep bragging all day. And so no, and I would be taking a bath, and she would, and oops, she happens to come in with the clean towels that
This
just
is like out of a porn.
covered.
it
Oh
it
yeah.
is like out of a porn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This
She
is
would,
weird.
her and her daughter, sometimes it would just be me over there having spent the night, and her and her daughter would come down in bikinis to go out to the pool, and just
Jesus.
twinky dinky dinky, here we are, shaking it, right in front of
One more
me.
time. What was that?
Yeah, quinky dinky dink. Kadoopy
How
doop.
could you resist all that?
Yeah, oh
Man?
yeah, no, believe me. And I was, uh, early stages of being masturbatory at the time, but I was also totally pre-pubescent, in the sense that no hair on my body, and that was like really embarrassing to me.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, I couldn't really go there. But I mean, uh, she was clearly wanting to. And anyway, it ended up with a big fight with her and my mother, because she actually truly wanted to adopt me. I mean, no kidding. And this is like really 9ish. I happened to get like the flu or something that put me into a truly delirious fever. And so there was like a phase of about 3 days where I was unconscious while my mother and this woman had it out. And
Wow.
my mother's
Conveniently.
SPSX, my
Right.
mother's SPSX won with a 2-wing herself, and this woman's SXSP won with a 2. And they, had it out, and my mother won. obviously, and but it was interesting. And this woman actually came back around like a year later, but more directly through the channel of my mother to get my mother's blessing. And
Blessing for what?
to just to interact, because at this time,
Okay.
now the woman had a boyfriend her age who was in a band, and I was already a musician at that time, and I think it was just a way she wanted to connect with me again.
Did she?
And I found out that she had one thing that happened on that second reunion, or the second time we kind of got together a little bit, which was only brief, it didn't last long, was she showed me that she had a whole album full of pictures of me asleep that she had taken of
Oh,
me while I
wow.
was asleep, which is like, wow, this is hardcore.
Sexual
Anyway.
types are creeps, man.
Yeah, sexual. There it is. Love it.
So wait, did she hit you up when you turned 18? Because I would have if I were her.
No, because I think, like like I say, she came back around about a year later, and I think she actually got married to
Oh,
a musician, and she was
That's
with
sad.
somebody then, and
man. Unrequited love.
yeah, so
I think
Lust.
but she was a big part of my early sexual fantasy stuff.
You didn't hit her up when you turned 18? Because I would have.
Yeah, I can't remember what the hell was happening at that point. No,
I'd have been
no.
like, I'm ready now.
Yeah, it would have been good.
the theme of this podcast is David making Nancy uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, I should wait till I tell you the time about when I was 8 years
No,
old.
thank you. No, thank you. You can.
She
I
did
had
ask. She
No,
did
I
ask.
did
Yeah,
not ask.
You did
a
ask.
whole similar thing happened to me when I was 8 years old.
We're moving on.
Okay.
She said, "Do you have any stories, David?" And he's like, "Stories
I
about
didn't know
what?
I said.
Yeah.
Dating sexual
said,
types."
King of inappropriate, strange.
Now you know
breaking
what
new
happens
territory.
when you ask
So
David.
this
for
is
the
a
story.
perfect example of a sexual type making a sexual blind uncomfortable. It happens all the time. It's gonna crawl under the bed.
Yeah, I was the passive soft boy 9, target,
You're
and that
very
was the thing.
different now.
And that's what I wanted too as a child. I mean, I was conscious. No, I wouldn't say consciously. I was semi-conscious of cultivating that, and like sometimes my mother's female friends would say stuff like, if you were just a little bit older, and that would be like, that would totally light me up. That was like exactly what I wanted.
Well,
Yeah, man.
you're very different than like the soft 9 now.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit of a jerk now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, well, so I think that's what you figured out has worked for you.
Which thing? Being a jerk?
Being a jerk. Because young women love that, man. We're done.
Yeah, no, that's the new program.
Yeah.
We did the
Indeed.
soft, and the mother's coming after me now. Now it's being the devil.
Yeah,
Now it's
smack
being
us
daddy.
around and
Daddy.
yeah, there you go.
Daddy
Lock us in a
devil.
cage and shit
I've
like
been
that.
a perp since birth, man. Jesus, I was like terrible. Like I have some pretty early memories of being sexually aware before adults knew that I should be sexually aware. You know how like adults change in front of kids because they don't think like kids are too young to like know anything. Like, so I had
Like you
my,
mean like physically change clothes?
yeah,
or?
change clothes,
Okay.
get naked, and change clothes. Like, so my aunts would, whenever they'd visit or whatever, they'd change clothes in front of the kids just because I mean we're so fucking young. So why would it matter? And so like I just remember like being just obsessive about women from a very young age. So to the point where I'm just like I'm watching my aunt change in front of me, and I'm just like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
I can
like, remember some scenes like that.
Whereas like, why are you doing this? But like, so just like sneaking looks at yeah, because you can watch adults get naked at a very young age, and because they let you. And I was just very curious. I'm like, man, I want to see everything. And at school, I just kids, you know how kids are kind of like curious about like, oh, I wonder what it looks like, and that kind of a thing.
Mhm.
I was definitely one of those kids that wanted to see what everything looked like.
So last podcast, we had discussed the prevalence of stepmother porn and
Oh, yeah.
incest porn.
Oh my god, it's so
Now, mystery solved. Thank you, big hormone enneagram. Case closed.
Oh my god. I listen to far too many podcasts about porn and sex. I know all the details about that.
Oh, okay. I guess I want to ask you then, because like we were talking about it last week. I pay attention to
When I was gone.
yes.
You're great.
So you know how Pornhub releases their yearly top 10 or
Mhm.
lists for what people watch, and if you look at the list every year, you can kind of see what people are interested in. And
Incest
so
porn.
incest porn has become a big thing in
Yeah.
the last couple of years, and also not just incest porn, but the one where people are having sex like in full view, not in full view, but it's like happening right there.
Voyeur.
Yeah, like the combination of those two things have become really, really prevalent. I'm like, what
Voyeurism.
the hell is going on? What?
I
Why
know.
is?
I know.
Yeah.
So if you've ever, I would highly recommend listening to Dan Savage. He's great, and I suggested that you guys listen to him a long time ago, but I doubt you did. So he talks about why voyeurism and incest porn and all that kind of porn has become so popular, and it's because it's so taboo that our brains like when something is taboo, our brains like sometimes flip it because it's so bad that like you have to experience it.
Well,
So
I
then it
mean, that's
becomes this,
getting
like,
at that. That's getting at that next levelness of sexual, right?
yeah,
Mm,
Like,
yeah, and it's you fetishize what's taboo.
yeah.
So oh, being caught in a park, oh, it's so taboo, but God, wouldn't it be so fun to maybe almost get caught?
Yeah.
mm.
And
Getting caught in the park with your sister.
Oh no, and it's like it's not that these people want to fuck their sister. That's never a thing. Like people will call in and they're like, my boyfriend's into incest porn. Does that mean he wants to fuck his sister? And he's like, no. That's not what it means. It just is so taboo that your brain fetishizes it.
Yeah,
Human brain.
I thought it was fascinating, at least like for me, like which ones worked for me.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
think it's the sense of uh any second now you could be caught, like the sense of like it's just on the edge of danger, like you're having sex with your girlfriend's mom and she's in the other room, like it heightens the whole thing. Otherwise it's like, oh, it's just two people having sex. So and they're putting a sense of danger in a scene that's a little interesting, like that person's just like within view, but they're doing this thing. I was like, this is actually making this more interesting than it
It's making
would be.
it more interesting to your sexual instinct.
Yeah, this actually, it's like doing something you could do something on flat ground, or you could do it on a tightrope, 100 feet above the air. It's like, oh,
Why the fuck
okay.
not do it on a tightrope? Well, so here's the interesting thing for me, because I really enjoy a touch of voyeurism.
Mhm.
Um, but what it is for me is like showing off.
Oh.
Like, yeah, so
You're
like,
the exhibitionist.
I don't know what you mean by that.
The one who shows off is the exhibitionist, and the voyeur is the one that is
Watching.
observing.
Oh, yes, I'm the exhibitionist. Yeah, you're right. I didn't
Oh.
realize those were two separate things. Oh, thank you.
That's
for
often a
teaching me that.
3 thing too.
Yeah, like I want to be watched. And like I dated a guy one time who had he was in the middle of downtown, and he had a patio with like a glass wall overlooking like a very busy street. And I was like, fuck me against that wall. Because it's not that
All right.
oh, I might get caught. It's that like I want everyone to like, oh wow, she's so hot, worship me,
Mm.
kind of shit.
Mhm.
So it's like the world is worshiping me. Not so much that I'm afraid of getting caught. I'm like, no, you can watch.
Interesting.
Hmm So it's
I
not the
like
danger, it's the worship.
interesting. Yeah, I like the sex in full view. Not in full view, but just like it's happening, no one can see it, but it's people
Mm.
can
Half hidden,
catch you.
half exposed.
Yeah, it's like at the dinner table,
Yeah.
getting something's going down, no one knows about it. That's pretty hot.
See, that stresses me out.
That's the kind of
Mm.
stress we need.
No, thank you.
In this world.
Yeah, in general.
Sexual stress. Yeah, everyone needs to get fucked. Literally everyone, just chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because every year, the stuff that people like to watch changes just a little bit, and I just noticed it's gotten really popular. I think just about every porn I see, it's the most popular ones. It's either incest or uh, the voyeuristic. It's happening, and we could be caught any second.
Yeah, I think because what used to be taboo was like being tied up or like dominatrix, and for a while that was like the top thing, dominatrix.
Hmm.
But now that, we've all
Now,
we
like
all do
every
a
girl
little
on
bit.
Instagram is getting tied up and putting pictures.
Exactly. We all do a little bit of S&M at home, so we're like, yeah, whatever. It's no longer taboo, but now like fucking your sister, that's taboo.
You,
Like,
you know
that's weird.
the stepmom stuff or the stepdad stuff that actually makes sense. It's like this is not your blood relative.
Yeah, you can
I
do
could
it.
see
Totally.
that. I mean that's not really taboo in my opinion. It's like when you're actually fucking an, an actual relative, like your actual mom. I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Is the porn actual relative or is it step?
It tends to be more step because I feel like that's more plausible. But every now and then I'll see one where it's like giving my sister the pipe. I'm like,
Right. Like, hey, what's up, bro? What's up, sis? Like they call each other that as if that's what you would actually call your brother and sister.
that's so bizarre because it's like no one's doing that.
No.
Or like
Very
I've seen
weird.
cousins, which is a little bit weird because there was a point where I met a cousin that I hadn't grown up with. I'd never seen her until we
Hot
were
ass cousin.
adults. Yeah, and I was just like, damn, she's hot. If I didn't know she was my cousin,
What's weird, I joked about it earlier, but that people do that daddy thing, like, like use that term, like so and so is a daddy or whatever.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like that's I don't know. That's seemingly in the Venn diagram overlap of all this psychological territory.
Sure.
Oh,
true.
it totally is. Yeah. Yeah. That's. Mhm. But I love that shit.
I haven't thought about that. What is that?
Well, it's a lot of, not wanting to be in charge, but still being
Yeah.
in charge because the sub is always in charge, technically speaking.
It's a weird territory for me because not having had a father, because that's been a dynamic that I've been experimenting with over the last few years, let's say.
Experiment with me.
Use me.
And but it's weird not having had a father model, so it's interesting just to sort of internally observe me, playing with that role, and of course it's sort of more subversive because of not having that sort of actual structure. You know what I mean? So
I
it is
wonder,
darker, maybe.
does it have as much of a hook for you with not having social? Sometimes I wonder if
That's the
I'm
other
like I'm
part
pretty
is I don't
neutral.
really I don't actually it's not I don't fully know how to architecturalize it because I don't have social, because I just labels and stuff are I just don't I don't know how to work with that space particularly. I'm just kind of going with it. If the woman's calling me daddy, then okay, sure, let's go.
So, in true 9 fashion. Okay,
Yeah,
sure. Whatever.
exactly.
So do you think like the guys who are really into like
identifying as
yeah,
that.
like being the daddy, or like role play, like they would be social, possibly,
Well, or
or at
social
least have
second
it,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
in there.
I
That's
think so. I
interesting.
mean, and it's possible. I mean, I could see social last doing it to some degree. Someone that had a different history than I do, but yeah, generally speaking, I think there's a much more solid base to work from if you're social first or second.
Because that
Well,
term
yeah,
doesn't do anything for me. I've
No.
realized it doesn't light anything up
you
for
guys are
me.
boring.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
didn't think it would, but it does.
Writing that down.
well, I think self-pres has more hooks for that. I feel
Could be,
What do you mean?
yeah.
well, because the provider thing, like
It's that.
Okay.
David's
that.
definitely got some of that going. Whereas the only thing I'm providing, I'm
Is
providing
that dick?
is that dick. So
And nothing else.
nothing else.
I won't pay for your cab.
Yep.
Have no money.
I wonder why women think it's a one night stand.
Yeah. I'm not paying for shit.
Oh my god.
I got jokes and dick. That's it.
Why doesn't anyone want to date me long term?
It's like, can you live on jokes and dick? Okay.
Can you fill your car up?
With this dick.
Nobody calls me daddy. I'm the
Oh
one that
my
needs to
God.
be taken care of.
Aw.
Pay my fucking bills.
Tragic.
Oh my god, that is so funny. Well, now that I think of it, I think most of the guys, most of the guys that were like really into the daddy thing were very into structure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like you do it this way and only this way,
Yeah.
and if you do it wrong, that's really not cool.
Yeah, that sounds like some social self-press shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an aspect of men are more sort of solidified in what their tastes are.
Yeah. Well, they're
Whereas women
allowed
are
to do that.
I think there is. I mean, men get more are more objectifiers in a way. I mean, women can be, but I think men can get more that way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, they're a little bit taught that way, and yeah, their brains work a little bit different. But yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think there's more genuine, like needing, like guys that have a certain, just to take one category, guys have a thing about, liking a certain body or a certain body part, and and they have to have it. I mean, they have to have it, right? Or else they're not
It's
even
not
going to
good
be
enough.
interested.
Yeah.
Or it's not even exactly that it's not good enough. It's actually not arousing.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
Is that how guys work?
That is how guys work.
Yeah.
This is something that we talked about in one of these threads, that it seems that men are far more particular about their sexual preferences, and why that is. Where is that coming from? Why is that the case? That maybe it has to do with the sexual drive, where I have to find someone that I'm aroused by, sexually attracted to, because if I'm not going to be motivated to do what I got to do. Because I mean, most of the time, guys are going to be the active participant in the sexual act.
And taking that even further, getting even more graphic, is one way to say it, and I'm quoting an author here, is that an erection is a thought. It's a concentrated thought, and if you get distracted, then the erection goes away. And the thought and part of what concentrates the thought is that you have sort of a hardened mental image that is the thing that keeps you hard also, right? That you're pursuing this thing, and it has to be this certain way, and there's a target, and to keep that concentration going, it's got to be a certain thing. I don't know if I'm saying it very well.
No, it's
that
one.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, sexual preferences are big because it's like if I'm not into her enough, that I'm not gonna be able to, I'm not gonna be able to keep it up, and I'm not like it's just not gonna happen. It could happen, but it's gonna be lackluster. You're not gonna be motivated. So,
To,
um,
to David's point, that's why the Egypt game is the game to get in because they can see how deeply I can concentrate on one thing.
That's it.
yes.
And then you know you're going to get a ride,
Mm-hmm.
a long ride.
Definitely.
We're
Takes
gonna
some
dig into some
staying.
tombs.
You'll take it to
6 feet
Dig
under,
into your tomb.
even further.
Yeah, I don't. I as a female have to concentrate all that much. Like every every couple of minutes probably. But like,
Well, in terms of,
Yeah.
would you say women, how specific are you in terms of what your sexual preferences are and like what a guy's got to look like, body shape, and all that kind of stuff? Would you say you have a type, and is it pretty specific, or is this just a wide range of shit that you're into?
I can be into a very wide range. I think as
Including
time.
women.
Yes. No, with women actually, I'm very specific.
That's
Hmm.
interesting right there.
yeah.
See, that right there to me is you're actually activating that same masculine piece in yourself that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Why
like
are you
there's.
more specific with women?
I don't know because I'm not attracted to all body types when it comes to women.
Do you, Nancy, do you identify as bisexual or predominantly straight?
Um, I would say I'm bisexual, but for the most part, hetero romantic. Like
Because
I would see myself. I could see myself marrying a woman, but I usually go towards men, and I don't know if that's just because like I didn't find out I was bi until later on, or I don't know what that's
No,
about. But
I've seen that pattern in women that are like I guess heteroromantic.
Mhm.
But when it comes to sexual attraction, they're much more specific about women's bodies and qualities versus
Yeah.
men. They're more open to a range of male bodies and male qualities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like I kind of hate that a little bit. Like I kind of judge myself a little bit on that, but it's just, it's just what you're attracted to. And it's just that, that doesn't
Yeah.
always change. But yeah, with women I'm very specific, but with men I've become more specific, but I still am pretty open.
I'm still curious about that.
What do you want to know? I'm
No, it's like, yeah, why? Because I would assume, let's just say I was bisexual. I think I would definitely, because I have at least like a handful, like maybe a couple types of women that I'm really attracted to. And if I were into dudes, I don't think it would be any different. So I'm trying to understand, like, why don't you have the same specificity with men? Why is there?
So with men, I think it comes down to, at least this is my theory. I don't know. With men, I like a certain attitude.
Mm,
With women, that certain attitude typically is only found in a certain body type.
gotcha.
Interesting.
Just
What's the
I don't-
attitude you want from the woman? Are you the dominant?
No,
Okay.
I'm not the dominant. I
Okay.
can be more dominant when it comes to men, but
Mhm.
with women, I don't want to be dominant at all. I want to be their toy.
Interesting.
I like women who can throw me around.
And do you
Hmm.
like having that filmed so you could show us?
I'm
Sure.
down to watch.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. You have to get Brian on board with that, though.
Mm,
I don't-
okay.
We can
I don't
sign
think
whatever
he's
release
okay with
forms we need.
sharing. Right now, he's not okay with sharing. Maybe give it a few years. He might change his mind.
Brian, do you think you'd be okay with sharing when your kneecaps are busted?
Jesus.
I can arrange that.
He'd just be like, I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Okay, I think I'm starting to understand. So it's that with women there is a certain masculine presence you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that gets to just how physiological all this is, I think, too, is almost what you're saying incidentally there, is that there's a body type that cues you to the woman's masculinity, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's like in this feminine wrapper.
Sure, for sure.
Really, I find just
Yeah. Yeah.
very enticing. Like yeah. I won't go into too much detail.
We'll do the detail at some point, though. 'cause
'Cause-
to hear that. Maybe a podcast environment.
Maybe. Call it like BHE After Dark. As if this wasn't dark enough.
Right? Would be the one that I
Patreon-
don't let my mom know about.
Patreon exclusive.
There you go.